Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are having a great day. So, for today's video, let's try to win and not flag so that we can gain back some rating. Okay, we finally have the standard E4 E5 game. Okay, we get a Glek system. So the past few games has been uh, quite unlucky for us, especially in terms of time. Oh, we have a serious player. It's theory. A4. Okay. So this is probably the first time that I've seen someone who actually knows theory, because usually what happens is people play D6 and H6 really early, and then this bishop, and then we can't afford to actually trade this bishop. Here he plays A5, A4, which I don't think A4 is particularly a good move. Um, D3, H6. We could play knight takes e5 and do a center fork trick here. After bishop d6 takes bishop e3. Oh, this a3 here. Ah, now that's tricky. So, let's see. It's not so easy as it looks. I could do a center fork trick still. I don't have to. Because he pushing the pawn twice, right? You know what? Let's try it. Let's try to see what happens. I don't think that if he can afford to push the pawn twice, why can't we, right? Also, you know what's funny? We could actually play f4 here. We want to. We could play f4 here, and if knight c6, now we play e5. Knight c6 or knight c4. And I think knight c6 definitely better. Knight c4, we can just play e5, and we don't care. We can also play b3 if needed. But b3 runs to bishop b4, so we probably won't do that. Uh, okay, so we could take right away. But I'm seeing f4 as a very interesting move. F4, if knight c4, maybe queen e2. Actually, no, we go e5 first, and then maybe go queen e2. It's definitely an option to look at. Okay, let's do that. Let's do f4. Let's do f4, and then see what happens. Okay, knight c6. So things now pretty straightforward. So now let's play f1. And he doesn't castle. He plays king f8. And that's, I mean, that has to be a very bad move. Now we just play bishop e3, protecting this. And d5, what? Pawn is hanging. Okay, another good Glek system game we got here. Okay, that's well, I wouldn't say a bad move. It's not exactly a bad move, but it's very close to losing. Because the problem is after we take the bishop and queen takes, d5 actually does not win a piece. As rook d8 becomes a move. Yeah, there are actually no tricks on the line here. Very unfortunate. Although after knight f6, queen f6, d5, rook d8, c4, the a4 pawn is hanging. He can take on b. Well, if he takes on b2, we just take on a4, and now we're attacking both pieces. And if they move one of the piece, like let's probably send knight b4, and then we just take on a4, and now this bishop's hanging too. So I really like that option. And we don't have a lot of time, so this time I'm going to play quickly. I think he realized that he's blundering really quickly, so he's taking time to think here, but I think it's too late to do so already. We have a bishop pair, and we're not up a pawn. Oh, he just accepts it. He doesn't even try to gain back the pawn. Okay, then we just take. Pretty easy. We could go queen d4, bishop d4. We go queen d4 also. We could also go c3 because both of our pawns are kind of fragile at the moment, and also attacking a4. c3, a3. Well, a3 we have bishop c5 and takes, right? It's not the end of the world. So let's see. I don't want to put the king to g8 because then we kind of just putting the king a step closer to safety. So I think we're going to play c3. a3 happens. So we're going to play bishop d. We're going to play bishop d4 first, and in order to attack the queen. And then after queen g6, in which case we play b4. We don't want to take on a3 and ruining our pawn structure. Our c3 pawn is still pretty weak, but at the very least, now our pawn structure is still connected. So we could play queen f3 here. Let's play queen f3. I don't see anything wrong. h4 is not really a threat at the moment. At least not to queen, not as threatening to queen takes c6. Okay, we have rook to a6. That's very sketchy. Bishop c5, king g8, rook h8. This is a trade of rooks, sure. But other than that, do I gain anything? Oh wait, we have a fork here. We have a fork around here. We could do that. We have a fork. We have a thread here. Queen e2, rook a8. Back to a8 is force. Could play queen e7. that doesn't look, it doesn't really do anything, does it? Yeah, I think we're gonna play Queen E2. I think Rook A8, Queen E7, King G8, Queen takes C7 is devastating enough. Um, yeah. Let's play Queen E7, and we take on C7. We now threatening to take C6 again. So I don't see anything wrong. Okay, this guy is just kind of being a psychopath right now. I want to be honest. We could take a free rook. King H7. If King H7 is play, what do we do here? That's a question, right? We could play Rook E8, and then if pawn takes, we could take. We don't even have to take. We could just play. Well, if we don't do that, if we play King H1. Oh yeah, I think King H1 is fine because E4 is covered. We don't even have to take on H2. We don't really want to. Yeah. So let's play. Let's force King H7 first. We are pretty low on time, so I'm gonna make this kind of quickly. But at least at this stage, we are pretty much winning, so no worries. We're going to force the rook trade, and we're not going to take the pawn because we don't want our king to be exposed into a lot of checks, most likely. And now Queen H6 doesn't do anything, first of all. Now our pieces are free to move. Okay, you trade the 3 pieces, trade the queens. So now this is an easy win for us. Now we just push the pawn and just win the game. Pretty straightforward. Now you can't even play King F5 because we just now we have this and we just win once again. And this is resignable. And I hope. Okay, this our opponent resign. Very nice game, very nice Glek game that we have here. So let's analyze the opening a little bit. Okay, so A5 is a mistake. Yes, okay, so A5 is a mistake due to knight takes E5. So I was right in some regards, but I realized that a little late. So I think because the correct theory here is after bishop C5, bishop G2, D6 need to be played here, and after D3, then you play A5. And D6 needs to be played here because once again of the center 4 trick. So I missed knight E5 for 2 moves straight, and I could have done this. Could have just done this. And here this is not scary. This is just not scary at all. We don't really care. So D4, knight G4, we don't care. King G1, and our king is completely safe. And this is a nice part about the Glek system, right? We obtain a really nice center. We have a bishop pair, and the knights look really awkward. The center 4 tricks is something that I'm still getting used to because it is apparently a trap. It is a trap because it's a very simple way for us to gain advantage without winning any material. So, and we played D3 here when I was kind of autopiloting, and when I should have realized that the center 4 trick is always available. And then he messed it again with H6, and I could just play this. And you might be wondering, well, we just played D3, so isn't playing D4 a little awkward? Well, not quite. Not quite awkward because you notice, right? The last 2 moves, what our opponent has been doing is pushing pawns. That's what they've been doing. That's all. So here we have another chance of playing knight takes E5. And here it's not as effective because there's H6 on the board. So we are effectively down the tempo in this position. right? But at least we're still better in this position. And a6 doesn't really change. What it changes is that we can't play bishop g5. That's all. And then when I castle, and then a4 is just a fatal mistake, because I don't know what this move really does. I mean, it prevents knight a4 completely, but there's absolutely no reason to do that. It should just play d6. It's pretty easy. Like he should have played that's this why move order is so important, because these three moves need to be played, but they need to be played in the right move order. So yeah, a4. Now I finally realized, and this happens. Okay, so I went for f4, which is still better for white, but it's definitely not. Knight b5 here is the best move. I briefly looked at it, but I didn't know. I wasn't sure if it was a good move, so I kind of disregarded it right after, right? So knight c4. I mean, let's say knight c4. Yeah, okay. Just queen d3. The knight can't reliably move. Because wherever it goes, I mean, we just play e5 and we're fine. I guess what I was scared of is rook a5, right? But then we just rook a5. After d takes c4, and apparently c6 is not good, just bad, because we do this, and we just have a total control of the position. g5 now. How is they sack the bishop? We don't have to. It's still winning after this. And then now bishop c3, and this bishop is terrible. And we have a bishop pair in the end game. Rook c5. Oh, it said rook c5, bishop b4 even. So he probably will go somewhere, something like rook back to a8, and then bishop b4 d. Okay, bishop b4 d6 e5. d6 e5 knight e8. Yeah, and then we'll eventually win. This is just overwhelming for black. But he played knight c6. So what's the best move here? Knight e to g4. Okay. And yeah, this is where like an advanced player would know this, right? h3 h5. Because after h3, the knight is actually trapped. And here white's still better, but it's not. There's still a lot of things for white to do. And e5 here is fine. It's not terrible. But it leads back to equality after. Oh, not this. After bishop e7, and then takes. Yeah. I will play h3 here, and then maybe the knight goes somewhere, and then I take. Maybe h5. That also is an option. But okay, this is probably the only like critical moment that was determined between winning and losing. But I was better the entire time, so no worries. Knight c6 is just it's just a out flat like bad move. So pawn takes, bishop takes, and now rook e1. King here is pretty much forced if they want to do anything. Knight e7 simply runs into knight e4 or knight d5. I was going to go knight d5 because I wanted to target the bishop. And if this castle here, well, we'll just look at this pawn structure. Now it's terrible. Now we can go f5, sacking the pawn, and play queen g4. So knight here, we just win. Yeah. So knight e7 is just not a move, and then of course bishop e7 runs into d5, and then knight b4, the d6. This is just devastating to look at, to be honest. It's even say queen d4 sacking, allowing all forks. They don't care. I think maybe I will go a3 first. Yeah, play a3, knight a6, and then d6. Pawn takes, knight d5. This is resignable. Yeah, but instead our opponent decided to go king f8, which is honestly a pretty smart choice. And then we play bishop e3. I was considering d5 here, but I wasn't sure. Because I realized that our opponent can't really play d5. But the thing is, after bishop e3 and d6, black is still holding, apparently. So maybe I should have played d5 here, because after knight e7, yeah, d6. I mean, after knight c6 is also not that good. It's just this. Bishop d4, bishop e3. It's nothing. Yeah, and then again, if you take on d6, look at this pawn structure. This is so bad. So, but instead our opponent just instantly play d5, and then without realizing that the pawn is hanging. So knight takes e5, and we take. I was correct at c4 just. I was attempting c4, but it's not a good move because of this, right? If our opponent plays something, let's say this, and then allows us to take on f6, then this is good for us, because after rook d8 we take on a4 and both of these pieces are hanging. But the problem is that black can just take, and after bishop d5, suddenly, sure, we still have the bishop pair and white is still better, but the position is not that easy to win anymore, because black is putting a ton of pressure on d4, and if our bishop moves, this pawn is going to be lost. This is under tremendous pressure. So yeah, it's suddenly not easy anymore. So I decided that taking was the best move. And d5, our opponent didn't even bother to try to keep the piece. After rook d8, I was looking at c4, which is apparently the second best move. So it's in a +4 position, the second best move is fine. Yeah. So c4, yeah, okay. If I was calculating a bit of queen takes b2, queen takes a4, and then you just win. a3, we could just play b3, yeah, or even bishop c5. Pretty simple. Bishop takes a3, no tricks. Or yeah, okay, or the most straightforward, queen b3, just guaranteed to win one of these pieces. Knight a5 doesn't work because of queen b4. And a takes b2, we just play the calm rook a b1. So from here, this is pretty easy. We could maybe I should have played b3, but I was just trying to play kind of safe to make sure that nothing is happening. So queen f3, a6, queen e2, rook a8. Okay, I like queen c4. And here, yeah, here is probably some awkward stuff. Okay, so both queen takes rook and queen takes queen is good. Oh, it's okay. I could have just done this. I don't know why I didn't do that. Yeah, after this, I could just take this. Then rook takes h2 doesn't really do anything. We just go back. I mean, play completely safe, and there's nothing going on for our opponent. We could even throw in a check before bishop g2. There's absolutely nothing that black can do. I missed that. I forgot that both the bishop and the queen is attacking, and I could just trade queens and take the rook. But instead I went for a more kind of complicated way to do this. And then they just play f6 kind of blindly, and then we just trade queens so we win the game. So yeah, another Glek system. A very great game. I really think that the Glek system is a very great opening, and I really, really, really trust it. It's not like an opening that you can play every single time, because a 4-knight doesn't really happen that often, especially in the lower level. But if you can pull it off, I think it is a very interesting system, and I've had very nice wins with the e4. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.